Hey, it's Jeff. Welcome back to another video. I have a few plant tasks that I need to get done today. I have a few plants that I need to repot. In my last order from North Shore Tropicals, they actually sent me a few different sizes of their plastic moss pole to try out. If you follow my channel, you'll know that I primarily use wood planks for my plants to grow up and get larger leaves. So I'm going to try out these moss poles. I generally don't use moss for a couple reasons. One, it's fairly expensive, and the other reason is it can get quite messy. So I'm actually kind of excited to try this out for my first actual moss pole. I also have a golden pothos that I have to pot up into something a little bit larger. And right now on Instagram, on my stories, I have a kind of a live poll going to help me decide whether I'm going to be potting a Scindapsus moonlight or a jade satin in a Wally Grow loop planter. So let's get started. Just want to show this here quickly. Just as we start, I'm only about 20 minutes in, and you can see the moonlight has a significant lead of 80% to 20%. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go. I just wanted to show a couple examples of some planks that plants on planks that I'm really enjoying right now. They're doing really, really good. This first one is the Cebu Blue or Cebu Blue. You can see I did secure it with this plant tie or whatever. Now I'm going to get some comments saying the green portion goes on the inside. This is actually Velcro on the outside. The soft green part is in the inside. There is aerial roots that are latched onto or secured to the plank. So it didn't take long for this plant to train itself to adhere to the plank and grow up. And the way I water it is I will just spray down the plank and let the water drain into the pot itself. I know there's been a few people with other plank videos that I've done saying you should put the plank on the outside of the pot just because of rotting factors. I haven't had an issue yet, and the reason why I like to put it in the pot is it's really easy for me to move this planter around. Like I can take it to the bathroom or outside to spray it down. It's just really, really easy, and I can actually pick it up just from the plank itself. It's fairly secure in the soil. So yeah, I really like the planks in the pot. Here is my golden pothos, and same thing. It has some pretty crazy roots latching on to the board itself. This is how they grow in their natural habitat on the bark of trees. They grow up the tree, searching out for higher light. You can see this is one of the original leaves, so it's just maybe a couple inches, and you can see it's already sized up quite significantly. It's probably doubled, maybe a little bit more. These leaves are just absolutely gorgeous. Here's the newest one. It's still hardening off, and it is still growing as well. So these are just two examples that are doing really well for me. I know these planks aren't for everyone. Everyone has their own preference. I'm not saying this is the end-all be-all method, but this is just one way to achieve those larger leaves. So now I'm going to move on to these moss pole planks, and we'll get that set up. I've already assembled the moss pole that I'm going to be using for this little tiny philodendron Tahiti. I actually acquired this plant as part of a plant trade. I traded some of my Hoya polyneura. Here's what the plant looks like in its juvenile leaf form, and as it grows up, it's a climbing philodendron, and as it grows up, a plank or a moss pole or whatever it is that you choose to use, then the leaves get obviously larger, but they appear more of like a fan-like. This is the type of pole that I've wanted to try. I don't want to make my own moss pole like with the like plastic netting, I guess, essentially. I don't even know what it's called. I don't want to use the zip ties and just assemble those moss poles, even though it's probably pretty easy. It's time consuming, and I really don't want to sit down and just make my poles. Probably it won't take long at all, but I really wanted to try this type of pole where it's got the flat front, it's got perforated holes for the roots to grow into the moss, and then the back side, it's kind of a rounded, just a solid back, and you can see it's got these little feet where you can stick it in the pot. So it comes like this, and to assemble it, all you have to do is just fold the edges, and I'm going to fold it this way without damaging the rest of it. Just fold the edges so that the front portion is flat like this. I'll just do the same with the other, and then it's just a matter of attaching the little clips together. And these larger ones, it has 3 different sizes, so you can make it a smaller moss pole, or you can, I guess, make it a thicker one. I'm gonna go as small as it can. Just gonna roll it up here a little bit, just to see what the diameter is. I think it'll be, I don't think you need like a ton of moss for the plant to grow in. And just assemble it, placing those clips just in the back. So you can see at the smallest, it is this wide. So that should be enough for you to stuff some moss down in there. And then if you need to, actually I'm gonna see if I can take these out and see what the medium size is like. Okay, and there is the medium. Actually, that's probably pretty good. That's enough room for a larger plant to grow into with those aerial roots. So I'm going to leave this assembled. I don't have anything to use this for right now, but this is such a genius moss pole. It is super easy. It's quick. I assembled it in like 20 seconds, and it's basically ready to go. Now for this Tahiti, it is in a nice chunky aeroid mixture. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to be keeping it in this soil, and I'm going to be adding the moss pole just into the back. I'm going to put some moss in here. As it grows up into the moss, I shouldn't have to upsize this while it grows, just because it's going to be obtaining the moisture and nutrients from its aerial roots as it grows into the moss pole. That's essentially what these aerial roots do. They search out for moisture, nutrients as the plant grows up a tree trunk or whatever it is it has adhered to. Okay, so now I have to take this. I have just a little bamboo pole that I'm just temporarily supporting the plant here. So I'm gonna take that off and we'll add this. Well, I guess I gotta add moss here first. This is the sphagnum moss that I currently have on hand, and you can see at the bottom, this cost me 15 bucks. So this little cube of sphagnum moss was $15. I just have a container of water, which I'm going to be rehydrating this dry sphagnum moss. I don't know how much I'm gonna need, so I'm just gonna put a bunch in the moss and let it soak up all that water. Might add a little bit more. Just let it sit in there for a few minutes and just make sure that all the moss is properly hydrated. When I take it out, oops, I'm gonna bring this up here. When I take the moss out of the water, I'm just gonna give it kind of like a light squeeze, just so the moss is not like dripping wet. And I'm gonna try and stuff it in the top of the moss pole here, see how that works. I'm just gonna place it in here. I don't want the moss to be too like compact, so I'm just gonna take a little bit at a time. I'm gonna hold the bottom and just kind of drop it down. Same with the bottom, I'm just gonna flip it over. And just squeeze the moss just so it's slightly damp. I've never done this before, so I don't know if you're supposed to keep the moss pole open and then just, well, this seems like an easier way to do it. Just put the moss in, but we'll see. Okay, I need a pencil or something. Stand by. Okay, couldn't find my pencil. Well, here's the pencil, but it wasn't long enough. I need this little skewer. I'm just gonna try and poke down the moss like so. Get in there. So it's nice and fluffy. There. Okay. So far so good. I'm just gonna finish up the rest. Actually, it's probably not gonna take a whole lot of moss. And the nice thing about these poles, or this one in particular, is if you want to extend it, you can just place another pole like this, put these little feet just on the top, I'm assuming, and you can just keep adding on as needed or as your space can accommodate. Yeah, this, again, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of moss. especially when you get plants like Hoyas from plant shops and you go and try and remove moss from the roots. It's an absolute nightmare. I like a nice chunky aroid mixture for most of my houseplants, including Hoyas. But I will admit this process of adding the moss is actually pretty easy with this system. Like I said, I don't want to make my own moss poles, like, you know, wrap them up with those plastic plant wire type stuff. But this one, super easy. I'm really impressed actually with this already. Oops. Whoa. Again, just squeezing out the water. The moss is damp. Might pack it in a little bit more at the bottom, just so, well, it's not going to move anyways, but something like that, making sure, just a little bit more on the bottom like this. There, assembled. Now, hopefully, this plant doesn't just flop over. Okay. Now, I may have to, it's actually going to be a pretty good fit. So the way I have the plant positioned is basically in the middle of the pot. I'm going to see if I can slide this moss pole just behind it, and then I'll secure it with some of that plant tie for now. Actually, I might have to dump some of this out. This is where the pencil comes in handy. I'm just going to kind of scrape away some of the soil at the back of the plant, and then I can add the moss pole in there, and then I'll just put the soil back in. Something like that. Just making a small little divot in there, just so it can accommodate this little plant or the moss pole feet. Not deep enough. Hope there's no roots back there. Okay, there. Okay, so just so you can see, I'm going to have the pole just at the level of the soil. And now I'm just going to add the soil back in around the moss pole, making sure it's nice and stable. I'm going to poke that down. I like that it comes in a small moss pole as well. Like, there's different sizes, because I definitely didn't need something large for this one. Just going to add a little bit more dry soil on the side and just pack it down, just so it doesn't move. Something like that. Okay, here's the finished product. Now I'm going to add one of these plant ties. Where's my, this one should be large enough. So again, here, this is just dollar store stuff, so it's cheap. It was, yeah, it should be the opposite. This green, like the Velcro should be green, and the soft portion should be white. You always want the soft portion, or I'm assuming you want the, what I do is put the soft portion against the plant. You don't want this prickly stuff to damage any of the stems, so I like to use the soft portion against the plant. I'm going to go up a little bit higher, just like this. Here's the finished product, and I think it looks awesome. I know this might not be for everyone. Some people will have different preferences of different types of poles. I know those round DIY ones with the plastic mesh, those like you can get them in like a black plastic mesh, and those ones look maybe a little bit more natural, so I can understand why people like to make it themselves. But for the ease of just being very convenient, I love this one, and I really like how it looks. I cinched up the plant tape again, so the Velcro's on the outside, and you can see the aerial roots will eventually grow into the moss there. So yeah, I'm really happy with this type of moss pole, and I'd like to thank again North Shore Tropicals for sending me a couple to try out. And yeah, let's move on to the next plant. Okay, let's check in with the results. Oh, right now the Moonlight is 64%, the Jade Satin is 36%. So let's keep an eye on this. We're about an hour in for the results. Okay, here is my Golden Pothos. This is a propagated cutting from another plant. It's currently on my piano. It's about maybe 15 feet back from a south-facing window. Right now, as we're entering fall, the sun is actually lower in the sky, so it is receiving more sunlight now than it was, say, like a month ago when the sun is at its highest point in the sky. So that's kind of the nice thing about the fall time, is the sun's lower in the sky. So a lot of my plants that are further back from the window are actually receiving sunlight right now. This one I know is going to be a root bound just because I'm having to water this quite frequently, or more than I normally would. So, and it looks like you can see in the bottom of the pot, maybe not, you can see the roots encircling inside. Nothing's poking through, but I can see the roots are encircling just by looking in a little drain hole. Okay, so I'm just using a knife. I watered this yesterday because it was pretty droopy. I didn't want the plant to look sick for today's video. So give it a good thorough soaking, sprayed it off outside with the garden hose. Ooh, I just heard some roots crunching. Just so the plant was hydrated enough for today's video. Ooh, look at these roots. Holy smokes. Look at those roots. Even on the bottom. I'm dropping soil everywhere, but okay, root bound plant. Now, all I'm gonna do is, where is my pencil? Where are you? I lose my pencil all the time. Here it is. I like to use a pencil for a lot of my little plant tasks, one of them being loosening up roots. So I just like to get in there and lightly pull, just loosening up those roots that are encircling the bottom of the pot, or bottom of the plant here. If I can avoid damaging the roots, then I just use this pencil and just lightly kind of place it in the soil or in the roots and just pull down a little bit. So you can see that the roots are no longer encircling. And now I have to pick the right size pot. So this is the pot that it was originally in. I did pick a pot. It's slightly, like just barely larger. So this pot will not be very good. I'm going to be potting it up into this one here. So you can see the size difference. That I'll be upsizing it when I put it in the new pot. I'm just going to size up the plant. I'm going to add maybe an inch of soil into the bottom. I'm just using a tropical plant mixture. And then I have this like soil tray which has some extra perlite and orchid bark, and I even put a little bit of leck in there as well. Just something like that. Stuff the plant in. Might put it a little bit lower. Okay. I've never really done like one of those, whoops, where's my little, I've never really done one of those like chatty pot videos other than just kind of explaining what I'm doing with plants. But I don't know. Let me know if you guys are interested in just a chatty type video. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about, even if I did one. I guess I could talk now. As I don't say anything. Okay, so I guess I can talk a little bit about my channel. My channel, it's continuing to grow daily. It's slowly creeping along. I'm up to around 43,000 subscribers, I think. I do have something kind of planned for my 50,000 subscribers. Right now I can't ship plants outside of Canada. I'm in the Canadian prairies, so I can't ship any plants as like a giveaway or anything like that to the States or anywhere around the world. You need special documents for exporting those types of plants. So I've been kind of thinking of doing maybe a different type of giveaway. It's still plant related. I'm not gonna give any information out yet, but yeah. Please continue to like share my videos just so I can get to 50,000 subscribers a little bit faster, and then I can do this giveaway. I'm hoping to be able to ship it to the US, and if not, hopefully around the world as a prize, because I know there's viewers from all over the world that watch my channel, which I really appreciate all the support. I never thought in a million years that my channel would get to this point and even start making money off of the channel. So it's just a nice little side gig right now. Just a little extra spending money as things are ridiculously expensive. I almost fell off my stool, and as you guys may have heard, my stool did not make a thump or anything like that. In the last two videos, every time I get off my stool to show a video or to show a plant like closer to the camera, my seat always makes this like loud thump, and it's because it wasn't attached to the actual stool. So I did put some screws in there today, so I'll show you. See? Secure. No more thumping around. Okay, so I'm gonna give this one some water. Actually, I won't, because I just watered it yesterday. The soil that is, the original soil was quite wet still. So I'm gonna just maybe spray off the exterior of the pot. Terracotta, it's really dry. And what I usually do is I will pre-soak these just so that it doesn't, you know, just soak out all the moisture from the soil. Okay, now back to kind of the channel. I'm just gonna use my pencil. This channel has exceeded my expectations in regards to you guys and the comments and the plant community itself. 99% of the comments that I get are very productive to the channel and the community, offering information for myself, maybe doing something a little bit differently, or your experiences with a similar type of plant or like procedure like moss poles or planks. I don't pretend to know, you know, everything, but it's nice to get the perspective from you guys and how you care for plants. So I'm just showing one way to do things. I'm always changing and learning. So I was actually thinking of doing a video on the types of things that I don't do with plants anymore. Like, I don't use or recommend hydrogen peroxide for sterilizing soil or stuff like that. So there's lots of things that I've changed over the years, just simply from reading and learning about plants, learning how they grow, and even watching other YouTube channels. Soil health is equally as important as things like sunlight and watering and pots and that sort of thing. So if you have healthy soil, then you have healthy plants. There's certain things like pHs of the soil, and certain plants, they like lower pH, and you know, that, all that kind of stuff. So this channel has been absolutely amazing for me, learning about different plants, just simply from you guys, and all the nice comments about, I don't know, my nice shirt. This is a nice shirt today. This is the flag of the province that I'm in. I live in Saskatchewan. I was just out for a nice little hike this morning. It was absolutely gorgeous. Saskatchewan's known for being like really flat and, you know, just nothing but farm fields, but that is not entirely true. The northern part of the province, it's all covered by forest. I think Saskatchewan has something like 100,000 lakes. Now I'm just rambling. Back to the channel. Yeah. This channel has been absolutely amazing. I enjoy making the videos for you guys and interacting in the comment section, even on Instagram. People send me pictures of their plants to help them rehab and that sort of thing. The only, well, I shouldn't say the only, but one of the downsides of my channel is, and it's really tough because there's so many other good channels out there, it's not comparing, or the thing that I have problems with is not comparing myself to other channels. And I just have to remember and appreciate how fortunate I am to have this channel, to have you guys as viewers and subscribers. So that's just, it's natural as you see other channels maybe grow faster or that sort of thing. That's the only real downside for me, is just trying not to get caught up in watching other people's channels grow. But again, I love seeing some of the like YouTube friends that I have, their channels growing. Like Fern, I love her channel. She is so close to 100,000 subscribers. That is my goal as a channel as well. I want that 100,000 subscriber plaque. I think that would be a fantastic goal or gift from making these videos. I want to put that plaque up on the wall here. Thanks for watching all my videos. I appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to check in one more time with my little Instagram live thing, and then I will decide, or I'll show you which plant will be potted up in the Wally Grow planter. I did have it right up here on, I guess I should get this plant out of my face. I did have, it's a loop Wally Grow planter. It was up here. I had a Scindapsus exotica in there. Went camping, it basically died back. It was just really dry. Couldn't save it, had to throw it out. So now I have to find a new plant to put in that Wally Grow. Okay, here's the finished product. I just sprayed off the pot. It absorbed the water really, really fast as I sprayed it off, just soaks it up. Look at this, golden pothos is just beautiful. I love the new variegation or the new leaves. They just look absolutely gorgeous. This one's gonna go back on my piano. Okay, so where's my phone? I gotta check in for the results. Okay, it's only an hour in, and I wish I would have done it longer, but the Moonlight has won it with 71% of the votes, the Jade Satin with just under 30 at 29. So thanks for those who voted. I'm going to be potting up the Moonlight in the Wally Grow plant. I'm going to be potting up the Moonlight, Scindapsus Moonlight, Trubiae Moonlight in the Wally Grow planter. Before I take this plant out of the pot, I just want to show, look at all the roots. This has been severely neglected. It's been up on my plant shelf here for a little while. Some of the leaves aren't looking the greatest, so I'm going to have to do maybe a little bit of pruning as well. With just some of the dead and dying leaves. I am fully expecting this plant to be root bound as well. Just checking the bottom. Yep, there's some roots poking out the bottom. So I might have to do a little bit of a root prune just so I can fit it in the Wally Grow insert. This is just the insert. It's got these perforated holes, and then this fits in the actual pot, which hangs on the wall. Okay, so you can see just not looking the greatest. I'm hoping that this repotting will help kind of rejuvenate this, because it's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful plant, just not having the greatest success. I'm also just keeping an eye out for any bugs or pests, any thrips or anything like that, spider mites. Anytime you see any damaged leaves like this right here, I'm a little suspicious of that damage. See on the back. So this may have had some pests at some point. So I actually have a little bit of the systemic plant insecticide, which I'm going to mix in the soil when I repot this, and I'm going to water it, and then hopefully if there's any pests in this plant, that it'll take care of the issue down the road. See right there, that's a little suspicious, but I don't see anything on the plant. Okay, let's take it out of the pot. Okay, I'm just going to move this little soil tray to the side a little bit. And I think, ooh, it's just gonna be all roots. It's very spongy. Okay, this is horrible. This is embarrassing. It has hardly any soil left. Look at these roots. Okay, so yeah, it's definitely root bound. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this in here. I'm just kind of looking over some of these leaves. I might actually just kind of leave everything the way it is. I have my little utility knife. I don't quite know what I'm going to do yet. I don't want the plant to struggle a lot after repotting. I'm going to see if I can actually just separate. Okay, so I'm going to explain myself. I'm getting a little sidetracked here. So my thought process right now is I'm going to see if I can separate some of these individual cuttings, because you can see they are all individual. I think there's probably maybe 3 or 4 different strands. I'm going to see if I can remove some individually. Usually, or what I've done in the past for root pruning is if it's one large chunk of roots like this, I'll take my utility knife and I'll cut a third of the root system off of the plant, put it in something new. That way those roots will kind of rejuvenate, they will regrow into soil, and it'll just continue to grow like that. But the root ball for this plant, I'm actually gonna get my little tray. The root ball for this plant is actually quite loose. So I'm gonna see if I can just manipulate some of these cuttings out of the root ball like this. I'm just pulling this right off like that. So here is one separate cutting with this massive root structure on it. So I might actually do a little bit of a root prune on this, just cut off some of the roots and let it continue to grow. So that's what I'm going to try and do with these cuttings. Okay, so like look at this, like one little root or one little node that has a root. Okay, here's another. It's actually coming apart quite easily, and so this allows me to look at all the kind of individual leaves here, just making sure there's no pest issues. There's a few like this. There is no leaves on like two of these nodes, so I might actually prune this back. Actually, I'll do it right now. In between two nodes, just take a cutting like this. I can propagate this in water or perlite or soil. I still have this cutting, and at the end where I made the cut, you won't get any new growth from like the cut portion, but when you move down to the next closest node, that's usually where a new branch will sprout out from. I'll see if there's an example, or if I have any examples. Right here. So this chunky root guy here, this is where a cut has been previously made. So there's the original stem, and then you can see this stem has sprouted from that node. So that's how you, if you want to take cuttings of a scindapsus, a pothos, a philodendron, if you cut the stem, it will start a new stem or new branch from the closest node to where you made the cutting. Sometimes it'll branch out in a number of areas. So that's how you get nice whole pots of these types of plants. Take single node cuttings, pot them up in some water, and once they grow roots, you just kind of clump them together, stick them in some soil, and you'll have a bushy plant. Okay, so there is actually multiple cuttings in this pot. So you can see there's a 2-leaf cutting. This one looks like it's previously been pruned. It's got a new stem there. So it's kind of a big mess of just roots. And you can see this like root ball just fell off. So I'm just making a huge mess. Okay, so I'm just gonna start by each cutting. I have a section like this. I'm just gonna cut off like 1/3 of the roots. I'm just gonna take my pruning shears, cut it off, and put it in the pot, just set it aside. That way I can discard all of these roots. Again, so this one, it's got some nice roots off of the plant itself. I'm just gonna cut off maybe 1/3 of these roots, just like that. And just set this in the pot. Some of these ones that have smaller roots, and I'm looking for a root rod as well. Some of these ones that have smaller root systems like this, I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to cut anything off. This one, again, I don't need a huge, long, giant root like this. Just going to cut that off, something like that. And these ones. So right here, this is the suspicious leaf. It has some damage on the back. So at some point, I'm thinking this may have had thrips. Now, if I move to the next node right here, you can see there is a root. So I'm going to cut it right there so that I can get rid of this leaf, just because thrips have been known to have, I think it's like a 45-day life cycle. Thrips lay their eggs in the tissue of the leaves. So if I see any damaged leaves or anything suspicious of thrips, I'm going to cut those leaves off. And I think there was one here as well. Yeah, this right here. That damage on the back of the leaf and on the front. This most likely had thrips at one point. I'm hoping it doesn't now, but I'm going to cut this leaf off just like that. And again, I have a garbage bag down there. I'm just not throwing it on the floor, but I actually think it just landed on the floor. Okay. I don't see any thrips on the plant right now, but it is kind of thrip season. Where I am in Canada, I'm going to propagate this one. where I live right now, it's kind of the beginning of fall, but we still have really hot temperatures. So it's really hot, it's really dry. That's what thrips thrive in, are those hot and dry temperatures. Don't see any damage on this. Just going to kind of clean these up. This is a huge root system. I'm just going to chop all this up. Again, just looking for damage. I'm going to cut this leaf off. It's looking a little crispy on the end there. Everything else looks okay. This stem is getting a little bit stretched out, so I'm just going to cut this leaf off. It's just a little runner. I'll start to branch out again. Otherwise, that looks okay. And then I got this one right here. Actually, I'm just going to cut this right there. So I'll have a section of stem like that. Okay. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of soil into the bottom of the container. I might actually need more, but I'm just going to fill it up, maybe like half for right now. And then I'm just going to clump all of these cuttings together. Because if you try and put them in like individually, it's an absolute nightmare. So I'm just going to try and clump these together in kind of like an arrangement, like a little bouquet of flowers, something like that. That way they can all be potted together in a nice kind of tight fashion. And it's just really easy to pot them up. So something like this. And I like to pot them in the middle and then just add soil around the plants. As I go along here, I am going to be mixing in, like I said, some systemic insecticide. Now, I'm probably going to get a few comments saying it's illegal in Canada. It's actually not. I think they were considering banning the active ingredient in the systemic, but I think that's been revisited or overturned. You can't buy this like on the shelves of Home Depot or anything like that. They just don't sell it in Canadian stores, but it is not illegal to use in Canada, which is kind of surprising to me. I thought it was a banned substance, but it's not. I ordered mine online from someone who sells it in bulk. So I have a little bit left over from the last time I used it when I had thrips. I'll be going, oh man, this is really, I need to get more soil in here. I did have thrips last year, so I've been using beneficial bugs for the most part, and I really haven't seen anything. Like, I haven't seen spider mites, I haven't seen thrips or anything like that. So, but I will be adding some systemic into this. You only want to use it for indoor houseplants. Anything that you take outside for the summer, do not use it, because the way this works is it's a granular insecticide. You mix it up in the soil. Each time you water the plant, the roots take up not only the nutrients and the moisture, but they also take up the insecticide. So essentially, when a sap-sucking pest like thrips or spider mites, when they ingest that insecticide that is in the plant leaves, it basically kills them off. So that's why you only use them on houseplants, things that you don't take outside, because it will kill other insects as well. And I've heard that yeah, just don't use it because of the bees and that sort of thing. So I only use it on plants. Well, I don't take any of my plants outside for the most part, but just a word of caution: if you use it where you live, make sure you're using it on house plants only and not plants that you take outside. I'm just going to pack these down like that. I should have had like more soil in my little container here. I'm just going to add a bit of soil just right in the middle of the plant here as well. Just pushing it down just so these guys don't flop over. Okay, so now for systemic, make sure you read the packaging, the amount to use for the size of the pot, even the safety instructions. Should probably be wearing gloves and eyewear and all that kind of stuff. Actually, I'm going to put a little bit more on this side. Now, I don't have a spoon, I just have my little plant shovel, and I like to use maybe like a couple scoops and just sprinkle it all around the pot. just mixing it in the soil. I'm going to add soil on top of that as well. Just something like that. Seal it up. I put this in my little plant table here at the back. That way my kids and stuff aren't going to get into it. Don't inhale the dust either. Follow the instructions. Just going to use my little pencil just to poke down the soil. Just poking out any air pockets or anything like that. Fluff this up as needed. I'm going to have that draped over the side. There. I think that looks okay. Something like that is how it looks. I'm going to give this some water as well. I'm going to spray this down with my little spray bottle type thing, and that way it can seat the soil. It just fills in any air gaps and air pockets, plus it's going to kind of distribute that systemic throughout the pot here as well. Okay, here's the finished product. I think it looks absolutely beautiful. Thank you to everyone who voted on Instagram and helping me with this decision. Here's the insert, here's the pot. Here's the little string where it hangs from. I'm going to hang it up here. I'll show you guys in a second, but I think that's going to be pretty much it for this video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave it down below in the comment section. Thanks for watching all my videos. Thanks for all the support. I really appreciate it. Take care, everyone. Bye.